Oh, that just happened.
What you smash it?
I didn't make that.
Oh.
What's going on with them? Maybe it's some type of update.
Oh, I had, it said.
All right, good evening and welcome to the Thursday, June 16th workshop for the Scarborough School Board. Diane, can you call the attendance, please?
Sure. Mrs. Giftis? Here. Mr. Kelleher?
Here.
Ms. Leong? Here. Mrs. Lindstrom? Here. Mr. Peony Huff? Here. Mrs. Turner? Here. Ms. Bertulia?
Here.
And Mr. Shumway?
Here.
All right, thank you. Can everybody please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, agenda item 4.0 is a workshop and agenda item 4.1 is the superintendent goal setting. So as we all know, well, obviously Jeff's not here today. He had a family obligation, but he did send his goals ahead of time. So what we're doing today is just finalizing his review process with setting new goals for him. And since we had done this already just a few months ago in November, December, most of these, or many of these are carryovers from the last time we approved them with a few changes. So what I think we could do is we can read through these goals and see if we think there needs to be any additions, changes. We want to add anything additional to it.
Can
That
we-
sounds good.
Do we have to use our microphones? Yeah, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I
can hear on the.
Oh, okay. Can we pull up the goals from last year? Do you know where those are?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, here they are.
You're always faster than me.
I think that's what Jeff has in there, isn't it? In what he sent?
I don't see the one that I had specifically added last year, and so that's why I wanted to see if there's anything else omitted. Thank you.
I'm sorry, it's just take me a minute to see if I can.
I'm looking too. Oh, is it the same document that we used when we did his evaluation?
Oh, yes,
Okay,
yes.
I'll forward that to everybody just so that,
Perfect. You can look on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank you.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
It's just taking a minute to come through. Did you send them?
Yeah, I did.
There you are. Okay. All right, so if you scroll down on the evaluation, the goals are near the bottom. Did you, The first one, the first old goal we had was to promote and grow a promote and grow a district-wide culture of trust, inclusion, and collaboration. Review implementation of student policies, strive for district-wide consistency, and inform the board of needed policy reviews. Increase student and family awareness of student policies. And this one he wants to keep in place for next year. I don't see, does anybody have any changes they would want to make to that? Do they think it's still relevant? Any thoughts on that goal?
I think it's, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think it's relevant. I don't have any additions to it. I think that can stay for a while.
It seems like something that would always be relevant.
Yeah.
I still think that it should be a little bit, maybe, I like the broad brush, but I also would like to highlight areas in which I do know and have heard repeatedly that from staff and families that consistency could be put in place in our handbooks, in our homework, in our grading, in our disciplinary practices. And I think that there needs to be sort of some sort of identification of district culture in terms of what we believe in for discipline, and that would start, I think, some of that work. But we were just talking about that with the dress code, for example. And I think that there's just been so much turnover, and maybe each school, it sounds like, is responsible for their own handbook. And then it just would make sense if this was sort of like a district-wide culture, that we have our belief system, and this is what we think for, about discipline, and this is how we want to break it up, and, and at age appropriate, and then that's trickles down to the handbook or whatever. But it feels a little bit piecemeal, and I know that, like, cell phone use, for example, is a good example. What's our district philosophy about student cell phone use in school? And that's going to take sort of a macro, require a macro view of the district's, our philosophy as a town, as a school district, what we believe in.
Would that be covered by the policy though? Because there are policies for all of those things, right? So it's just like making sure that they're being consistently implemented at each phase level, right? So they sort of continue one to the next.
So maybe it's not necessarily the policy. I think it's more of like identification of district beliefs and norms in terms of those areas. And then
So would we change policy to reflect that? So sort of that comes first and policy comes second?
maybe, I mean, I
I'm just
guess
trying to
I
understand
just would
what-
love to see like a task force, or maybe it's,
Hmm.
so I don't know what it is. And it, he's got a lot on his plate. I get it. Maybe not this year, but I just would like to see somebody having those discussions, like what do we believe in, what do we believe in for discipline at what age, and when does that change, and sending the message to kids and families, like, this is our expectation, or for homework, because people are always like, well, when do they start having, grades, and when does homework start, and all of that. And I think it would just be really nice to have, like, this is our district belief system, and then this is how our handbooks are going to be written, and everybody just knows that it's applied equally throughout all of the schools. And
So are the handbooks broken down by phase level or by school?
well, I know they're done by phase level, and I don't know if each school writes its own or not for the elementary level.
They're the only one where it's not.
I
the
think
same phase
K2
level.
mirrors each other.
Okay, thank you.
And I do think, to your point, Chris, and some of the, like the dress code is one that we're policies looking at right now because it is inconsistently enforced across the district, right? So like, for example, the example that we've heard from students, everybody here's heard from the students is that they can't wear hats at middle school.
Right.
But at the high school, they're allowed. But if you read the policy, they cannot wear them, right? So I think some of that we are looking at to answer your question about,
Yeah,
you
because there's
know.
a homework policy, there's all of those things. It's maybe,
But that shows that it's not necessarily a policy change, right? It's more
It's
of
a
the
culture.
culture and the
Yeah.
implementation.
I hear what you're
You
saying.
know what I mean? So I think it needs language work because
Yep.
that's a great example of what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
our policies are not being applied consistently. And how do we make sure that that happens? And it would just be nice for everybody to know, like, this is what we do.
well, yeah, and they should be consistent age appropriately, but it shouldn't drastically change from one to the next.
Right.
Would you like to see some bullet points?
Maybe that would make
Yeah.
sense, yeah.
Yeah, so specific, all right. Well, she's saying that there's some specific examples.
Do you want me to take a stab at drafting and then read
Yes.
it? Sure. Um,
I mean, is it more maybe that under that goal one, that one bullet point should really be separate bullet points?
Yeah.
on Jeff's goal one.
Yeah. like
Yeah, I
one
was
is
wondering the
review
same.
The implementation of student policies. That sounds like that alone.
Yeah. I went out of order. And so I was going to wonder this, I had the same wonder if maybe one is more.
Wait, are you looking at
Are you-
the ones that he drafted for tonight or
No,
last
last
year?
year, sorry. Are you looking at the ones he drafted?
Oh,
We're looking at the wrong ones.
So it's down here.
we're looking at, no,
I'm looking at this.
we're looking at 2022.
2022 superintendent goals.
There we go.
Yeah, we're looking at the same thing.
Good, good.
You know what? So on the one that, the goals that he drafted for tonight, it's under the third goal. So maybe what I'll do is I'll go in suggesting mode or
Yeah.
do something and just try to draft something while we talk about the first one.
Yeah, let's go back to the first one that he sent us, just because I do wonder if it doesn't kind of weave into this as well. So the first one he drafted is the Scarborough School Community will contribute to developing a shared vision for how we continually strengthen our learning organization and impact the development of our learners K through 12. Families and staff will have a clear sense of how professional development efforts, curriculum alignment, innovative, authentic learning experiences, and community connections serve to strengthen learning in all schools and classrooms. The goal will be met through proactive communication and revision of Scarborough's strategic plan, which will continue with our leadership council reviewing community dialogue feedback, along with staff feedback to set strategic goals for the upcoming 2022-2023 school year. This reflection will occur through the summer and during our leadership retreat time. So I almost wonder if that's really the first step of that.
So what I've done is I've added, I'll have to go back though. Identify district values for homework expectations, disciplinary practices and grading. And then update student handbooks to appropriately implement those values by phase level.
Mhm.
Where are you working?
Well, so I skipped back again because, well, Shannon said that the issue that we were initially discussing about the handbooks and the values being consistently applied throughout the district, that she thought that would now be fall under,
I wondered if it would
Goal
fall into
one.
that first one.
and I think that it still my position is that it would still fall under 1, 2, 3. after review the implementation of student policies, strive for district-wide consistency, and form the board of needed policy reviews. And then put a separate one in.
Are you looking at the updated?
The one that
Yes.
he
One
drafted
first, okay.
tonight, for tonight, yeah.
Were the updated ones shared with us? Because I don't think.
Oh,
they were.
I can do that.
I think I hear what you're saying though, Shannon, like, does that first goal, is that how we define this culture? And then when we do that, we then apply it to our policies. and
Yes.
Handbooks.
right. Right, because the strategic plan feels like the first step, right? Like you start there, and that's when you're planning and you're really setting the vision and the tone and the direction for the district when you're doing strategic planning, right? And so once you've got that down and we understand where we're all going, that's kind of when you would then move into what that
Implementing
looks like.
policies
Yeah,
that
implementing
reflect
those
that, yeah.
policies. Yeah.
So you want me to put it up under the first one as a bullet?
Well, I'm wondering.
Get it, Julia?
I mean, does that whole goal, the third one, become, yeah, does it just get put under the
Yeah,
first goal that Jeff has there? It's not a goal on its own anymore, if it's being tied back to the whole strategic plan.
I view a lot of that as different. I can understand why you think that the strategic plan would be part of that work for the handbook consistency, and I can agree with that, but some of that I think is separate, like the like bullying and harassment, for example, policies. I do think that there's work that could be done to ensure that students and families know how to access, you know, that system, for example, and I think that that's a little bit different than goal one. I view that third goal as more of an action goal than or an implementation goal more than a visionary goal.
well, said that way, then yeah, goal one is really a visionary goal, right? Like creating that vision for the district.
And that's where I can see and support putting sort of the district, I said values, I don't know, whatever you want to call it in terms of
Culture. and-
yeah, culture, yeah, for all of those things that I would like to make sure we address for consistency's sake. I can support that part going into goal one, but I do think that it should be pretty specific about some of the things that we know need to happen in terms of it then needs to be implemented down for consistency.
So that's not really about changing them or defining them. It's about clearly communicating what exists right now.
Right. But I think that, you know, we need to take an inventory of what we have, right? Because I mean, in year one of of him being on the job, I don't think he could possibly know all of those nuances of where we are for.
No.
So for example, the dress code policy, right? I mean, it's gonna, that's why I can understand part of that is the visionary part. Like you've got to take inventory of where we are for homework, but that's why I think it would make sense to sort of identify, okay, what is our culture? What is our belief system for these things? And then make sure that, and then send people off to make sure that the handbooks are, that it's applied, the handbooks are updated to reflect those district goals, and beliefs, and then that it's being applied consistently. And message to our families.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have two things, right? We have district beliefs and then district policies. The policies are ours.
Yeah.
Right, so that's not Jeff's job to update those policies, correct? That's our job.
Mhm.
So maybe that would help just kind of keep it a little separate. I mean, that should be our goal, right? If we
Mhm.
really want to review our student policies and make sure that those
Yeah.
reflect our values.
Yeah, and maybe that's like a discussion when we go to reset our goals for next year, right? Like that's, okay, if Jeff is setting this vision for the district. And then he's, we're asking him to be sure or ensure that there's consistency throughout the district, then we come behind. And maybe that's our goal, is that we'll make sure that our policies
Yeah.
reflect the vision that he's
Mm,
set
Yeah, and when
forward.
he's finding reasons where our policy doesn't support consistency.
Yeah.
Then we can fix them.
We can fix them, yeah.
So really, we want like uniformity across all phase levels is what I'm understanding. So us as a board reviewing our policies, making sure that that sets the tone, fit it in, and then have Jeff make sure that it's applied across.
Yep.
it all.
But some of it, some
And
of it,
understood by the
right, but
community.
some of that's not policy driven work, right? I mean, it's more of like.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, values,
But
and
a lot
so
of
that
it
could
is
include the,
policy.
yeah, that could include the community and, or whatever staff.
Some of this, so. Some of the things in the first goal looks like in other goals would be a bullet point. That's just a minor point. Sort of like as evidenced by or how he's going to achieve that, but I don't know, it is hard. It's a lot in there.
Okay, and he does have the note underneath. He does have the note underneath. This is more than a year, right? This is like a continual process.
I think it all is really.
Mhm,
right?
yeah.
At the end of the day, the goals that we approved were these, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
maybe that's what we should be taking his feedback mixed with ours and putting it into this document, not the other one.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You know, because this one is
Mhm.
more concise and bulleted.
The only thing that I worry about with that is, I think he felt that, last time that he didn't feel as though his feedback was considered, because we had a really awkward meeting that night in our
Yes.
defense and,
Yeah.
but the way it turned out that I think, he had put a lot of effort into goal writing, and so I wouldn't want that to happen again.
Oh, I totally agree. That's what I'm saying, like, but what version are we approving at the end? What format are we using? I just want to work on for, absolutely take Jeff's, what he
Well,
has written
yeah.
out.
There may be some overlap and then you already are working with, and then anything that's not there can be included.
Yeah,
So then you just pick and choose what, okay, this is already there. We don't need to add that because it's there. But this isn't, so let's
yeah.
implement that into it.
Let's do this so that we're all working off the same. Why don't we work from Jeff's document, and if we make revisions, I'll make them. In a, yeah, well, I guess we can make it right in here just as a suggestion. And then we'll make sure that we'll look back at our last year's goals and make sure that they're the same. Does that seem okay?
Works for me.
I'll catch up. Just organizationally in my mind, they're not going together.
I know.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I can create and this is what I started doing and then I stopped. I can create a new separate, like a new document, which kind of incorporates, and maybe I can still do that. That might be the easier. So if we're
There's
looking
just
at,
a lot of words in there and I understand it,
Yeah.
but that's not it's a lot of words to get to what's the goal, what's the ultimate goal.
okay, so let me copy this and then, pasted over here. So if we're gonna kind of cut out some of the wording is what I'm hearing, right? So,
I don't know, I mean, you want it broken into action item, like goal and action items?
Can we start by just numbering each goal so that we
Yeah,
don't
sure.
bounce
Yeah.
back and forth?
Yeah,
We
so are
can-
we doing
know what
Jeff's
we're referring
goal
to.
one?
yeah, let's do Jeff's goal 1. That's what we're starting
Okay.
at. And so once again, let me read it one more time. So this would be goal 1. So we're gonna number. So the Scarborough Schools community will contribute to developing a shared vision for how we will continually strengthen our learning organization and impact the development for our learners K through 12. Okay, I'm gonna pause there because if we're going to cut out words, the rest of it, I think, is a description
Well, I think-
potentially, or
I
maybe
think
it's
then we could
bullets.
do bullets.
Yeah,
after
is that,
We could do families and staffs as a bullet.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing like that first sentence, how that translates to a goal for Jeff.
let me share this with everybody. Okay, so the goal, the first goal will be, the Scarborough Schools community will contribute to developing a shared vision for how we continually strengthen our learning organization and impact the development for our learners K through 12. And then are we going to do bullet 1, families and staff?
Yeah.
Okay, and I just shared, just so everybody knows, I shared what I'm writing in, so you got that too. Okay, so families and staff will have a clear sense of how professional development efforts, curriculum alignment, innovative, authentic learning experiences, and community connections serve to strengthen learning in our schools and classrooms. That's bullet 1. Okay, and then bullet 2, the next sentence is the goal will be met through proactive communication and revision of Scarborough's strategic plan, which will continue with our leadership council reviewing community dialogue feedback, along with staff feedback to set strategic goals for the upcoming so I should take out upcoming, right? For the 2022-2023 school year. Okay,
And then I guess I'd like to just add another one and say, set 2022-2023 school strategic goals for that year.
okay, so that would be like a separate bullet.
Kind of reiterate it, yeah.
Do you think that the sentence, this reflection will occur through the summer and during our leadership retreat time, we can take that out? Are we feel good with that? I don't know that take that out or leave it?
I don't care. I think that it's good to have real tangible goals. So if they say, time, having a time identified, it makes the goal more readily achievable.
So maybe include that then?
You may want to make it its own bullet.
You could really.
Put that whenever you want to have it completed by, you don't need to give too much detail. I mean, say to be completed by, or by end of summer or whatever, how we're going to do it. People, I don't know if they care or not, but
So
Does-
is the
does it
goal
matter?
there really to, if we distilled it down, is the goal to revise and communicate Scarborough's strategic plan?
Mhm.
Can you say that one more time?
I asked if the goal ultimately in number 1 is to revise and communicate Scarborough's strategic plan.
Yeah, and then that first sentence,
Everything else.
the prior first sentence is a description of it, and then everything else is a bullet.
Oh, actually, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. Thanks, Diane.
Yeah.
How does that sound, or feel like
I think it's good. I
we're
like
getting
it.
to where where we
Yeah.
want to get to?
It's good because it has a concise statement and
It's very direct and
explanation.
lets you know exactly, okay, this is what we're
Breaks it down
doing.
into.
This is how we're gonna do it, and when we're gonna do it.
Okay.
Less is more.
Okay. All right. Go in your email.
They're at the public safety building.
It's from me. Shared it with you. Okay. This is just the fresh place I'm in, so that it's cleaned up. And we don't have just so everybody knows, we don't have an action item to vote on this today, so we'll write them up and we'll have, the time to think through, and then vote on it afterwards, at our next meeting, excuse me. All right, so I'm pulling goal 2 from Jeff's sheet for tonight. Goal 2 was the Scarborough Schools community will develop the unique abilities and interests of all of our students through ensuring inclusive connection among all of our students and families, building a strong academic foundation for all phase levels, meeting the individual learning needs of all of our students through embedding an effective network of student supports, RTI, and then strengthening social emotional learning through all developmental stages by implementing aligned curricula, meeting the social and emotional needs of our students in proactive ways, responding to those in crisis, and recognizing the importance of social and emotional well-being for students and staff.
I'd like to put a period after students and then say something like this goal will be accomplished by, and then just because I like how Diane had made that concise goal before.
Okay, so the Scarborough Schools community will develop the unique abilities and interests of all of our students, period.
Yeah.
Okay,
If we're trying to keep it as concise, would it be better to say just develop the unique abilities and interests of all students? This is Jeff's goal.
we'll develop, I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Develop the unique abilities and interests of all students
Oh, of all students, yes, we can take out our.
and the Scarborough Schools
Yeah.
community
Will
will.
just develop.
Scarborough.
Well, but he needs to guide the Scarborough Schools community to do that work, right? And so
So how about guide the development of,
I like it because I like to identify who's gonna do what, and I think that identifies that he's going to direct that work that's gonna happen in the schools, that he's not necessarily gonna do it.
and I
himself.
guess to me, it reads a little bit more like it is not his responsibility.
Yeah, if it's saying the Scarborough
gotcha.
school community,
You know what I mean?
it's not him, it's the
Yeah,
community.
Community
The
is going to
community's
do
So
going
that.
to
he's
develop it.
doing
I
it,
see
so
what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
Okay,
Okay.
we need to get it on, put it on him rather than
yeah.
Yes.
I see
laying it
what you're
at the
saying.
feet of someone else.
Yeah, I get it now. Okay, so can you restate what you said? I'm sorry. For the third time. I apologize.
I don't even remember.
Develop, I know it
Or,
starts with.
yeah, or
develop.
guide the development
Yeah.
of,
Oh, I see. Okay, so guide and develop.
or guide the development of,
guide The development of the unique abilities and interests of all students.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the bullets underneath, ensuring inclusive connection among all students and families, building a strong academic foundation at all phase levels.
Wait, can we go to ensuring, that first one, what does that mean?
Ensuring inclusive connection among all our students and families.
Does he mean that all students and families feel included in the Scarborough School District?
That's how I take that,
Okay.
yes. Diane, do you know, I mean, I'm asking you to read his mind, but do you?
I don't know firsthand, but I would infer the same thing, that, the goal is to make sure that all of our families and students feel included and connected. And there are a variety of ways that that happens, right? And so some of that is just by creating a welcoming environment. Some of that is by making sure that we have equity of access to information, right? Whether that be in multiple languages, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So there's like, it's a deep,
Mhm.
Yeah.
deep goal.
All right, so do we feel like the bullets are okay then?
And, what if we said ensuring Scarborough Schools promotes an inclusive connection with our students and families? Because it almost sounds like they were promoting the connection between the students with their families.
Okay. Actually, now that you say that. Ensuring the.
So say that
inclusive
again then?
connection.
Okay.
That will, that this,
Maybe it can just say ensuring inclusive connection between students, between the schools and students and their families.
yeah, something like that.
Is it community or schools? Between the Scarborough Schools community? Or just?
Scarborough Schools. Or district, or
So let's- Ensuring inclusive connection between Scarborough Schools and the students and their families.
Much better.
Are there any thoughts on the rest of the bullets? Do they feel good as is? Is that cool?
Do we have, does goal 3 have an academic component to it? Didn't wanna, I guess I'm just
His goal
wondering.
3?
Yeah,
Or
I'm just
promote
wondering
growth?
on that second bullet point, building a strong academic foundation at all phase levels, what that means. Like, did we get to that somewhere? Somewhere else?
well, I remember last year we had a debate about that, like achievement versus the other word we used, right? Because it was an achievement for everybody, and so that was a difficult
Yeah.
one for us to word, I remember.
And I know we had it somewhere. I guess I'm just trying to figure out where it is. Oh, the benchmarks for achievement in math and reading. Okay, so it's in goal 5.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So not hearing anything else for goal 3, so I'll, or goal 2, excuse me, so. How do we feel about goal 3? So that's one we were just talking about. Alicia added the second bullet about identifying the district's values for homework. Homework expectations, disciplinary practices, and grading and update. Wonder if that, do you think that's 2 separate bullets? Identify
Yeah.
district values for homework expectations, disciplinary practices, and grading period. And then update school handbooks. Mm-hmm.
So are you looking for Jeff to update the school handbooks? These are his goals, right?
Oh, right. So yeah, Jeff went and implement that. So would it be guide them, guide?
Or ensure consistency.
So,
Ensure consistency in implementation of district values. And and including in student handbooks.
All right, so let's reread that one more time. So it would say ensure consistency and implementation of district values, including in student handbooks, to appropriately implement. Oh, no, that gets deleted. Yeah, that's too much. Okay, so ensure consistency and implementation of district values, including in student handbooks.
The district values or is it district policies?
Oh, but wait a minute. This goes back to that conversation.
I really want to
Right.
make sure that, we're separating out somehow, and I don't care what word we use, policies from this, from what I'm going to use as values, because I think that the policies are viewed as board responsibilities, and I do think that this is work that the district needs to do, so.
I did like a little bit before understand the distinction that you were making, but now when I read it here, what values are in the handbook that are not policy driven? And I'm asking, I genuinely don't know. I
Well, I'd have
haven't-
to look at the homework policy, for example, but, and the disciplinary policy, but what is our district's policy for like restorative justice? At what age? I don't think that we break it down like that. And I don't think that it has been a conversation about some of those things at a district level that I'm aware of for a long time.
Yeah, and this goes back to, I think, what Shannon was saying earlier, we kind of have to define those things and then make our policies catch
Yeah.
up to our values.
Yeah, and I think that I think the second bullet hits what you're saying, and I think the third bullet the consistency is ensured through the policies.
I think
Right.
that work needs to be done at the school before the policies can catch up, because a lot of times in policy, we ask the schools to come in and give us their opinion. And I don't think that can happen until the schools sit down as a group and have those discussions.
So maybe that's the goal, is for Jeff to work with his administrators and his staff and bring forward to the board policy recommendation. I mean, which is it was in one of
One
them,
of these.
but, and then we alongside them sort of hear that, because ultimately you're gonna have to change the policy and get that feedback anyways, right?
Yeah, my problem, my worry is, how do you ensure consistency with values? That's a hard ask. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because my value, I mean, yeah, sure, we have a district value that's gonna come from the strategic planning, but how do we ensure that's consistently
Well, okay,
followed?
so what do you want to say for, like, if I asked everybody on this board,
Mhm.
what is our district's position today about cell phone use in school by students? Could you answer that question?
I would say, give me a minute and let me look up the policy.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly what I mean. It doesn't matter what the policy says, it's being
But it
applied.
should,
But
right?
it's being applied in, I don't want to say inequitably, unevenly throughout the district. And that's district work, that's not policy work.
It's, right, so it's Jeff's goal to make sure that everyone is implementing the board's policies. And if they have a policy they want changed because they have gotten together and said this doesn't work, then that
Yeah.
comes to the board and the board changes the policy.
But we need to identify like what, I think and then the hat uses is something, another good example. We know that the dress code says no hat use, but
Yep.
it's being applied unevenly in the different phase levels. So that's not a policy issue, that's an implementation issue. And so the part of the conversation, I think, is, well, what as a school, and you know, I feel somewhat awkward sometimes in the policy committees addressing these things, because, okay, there's how many of us there, like, this should be a broader discussion. What do we as a community think about cell phone use in schools? Like, should kids have them in case there's an emergency? Should kids have them? I mean, we know that I get texts, you know, so we
Yeah.
know that they're using them. Should they have, like, do we want them to have it? What do people think? And that's not a policy discussion. That's a staff discussion. That's a leadership discussion, and then probably bringing in the community. And then that can perhaps guide some of the policies, but not all of that stuff will be policy. Not all of the handbook stuff is a policy issue. Homework, when are, you know, when do students have summer homework? That's not gonna be a policy, but we need to,
But we do have a homework, doesn't mean our policies aren't reflecting what's happening, or what's happening isn't reflecting our policy. So we have a disconnect between what our policies state and what's
and the
happening.
implementation. But not all of these issues are gonna be, I guess, like, we can't have a policy to address every nuance in the schools, but we do need to have like, okay, what's our perspective on discipline? What's our perspective on homework? What's our, you know,
Yeah.
those things.
I
And then
totally hear
implement-
what you're saying.
Yeah, but I just feel like we need to identify that the district needs to do some work to make sure that that's applied consistently. And if that includes recommending changes to policy, it's pretty fine, good, but
Well, I think that's sort of what needs to happen, right? So in the case of the hats, I know this would be like wildly unpopular, but the policy needs to be enforced until it's changed.
Right.
That's how I would view it, right? I mean, no one, the policies are there
Yeah.
for a
or
reason.
there should be a recommendation for a change.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
And
In that the community can be brought, they would naturally through the process be brought in to share their opinions on whether they think that policy should be updated or.
And Jeff still does have, you know, continuing to have community dialogue sessions in order to get that kind of feedback, in order for us to change any sort of policy that we might already have in
I
place.
guess my fear is that this is a big ask. And I know that when Julie was here, I asked for it, because I've been hearing for years from people that are frustrated and want
Mhm.
answers to a lot of these questions. And it was it's a big challenge. I mean, and then the handbooks are published at certain times of the year. So I just want to make sure that, I just think that if we don't set it very firmly in his lap, then it's not gonna
Yeah.
happen. And I just want to make it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not that, I mean, I'm not here that much longer anyways, but it's not that I don't think that the board shares responsibility in terms of the policy, and I'm happy to review any of those policies, but I just think it's the only way it's ever gonna happen is if we really clearly identify, this is what needs to happen.
So
Yeah, and
do
I
we-
think I feel, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think I feel that we're getting that, and unless I'm misunderstanding, with that second bullet. Because I agree with Kristen. I think we need to identify those values, right? But what we're trying, so that's a separate bullet from, we need to ensure policy is being followed. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, identify the values and then ensure that the policies are being followed is a.
It's
separate
like
bullet.
bullet number
So-
3, right?
Yeah.
Ensure consistency in policy and following the policy.
Yeah,
So-
and I
Yeah,
think
okay.
if we're hearing over the years tons of feedback on the same inconsistencies, maybe we call out very specific policies that we would like Jeff to sort of discuss with his staff before the policy committee takes them up or the board takes them up.
So why don't we say after, what, if I understand you correctly, because it sounds like I thought that we were saying different things, but I think we're saying similar things. After identify district values, say, ensure that student handbooks are updated by phase level to reflect district values, and then the next one, ensure consistency in implementation of district policies.
Would. I mean, I think that works, but I was gonna make a point. Getting, like, part of that goal if it's district-wide culture of trust, then getting, feedback from the schools to direct up to us. I mean, I know that's something that is done, but is that part of that goal?
I think so. I think that, I mean, I would expect that when he would, when he's identifying the district values, that he would consider the voices of staff members and leadership and parents and in making those decisions.
Yeah, I would think so too.
And it includes collaboration in the goal.
Yeah.
But I think that part of the culture of trust is that people know what to expect and that the rules are applied consistently.
Right.
I agree,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I think that's where I'm still, and I think I'm just gonna have to walk away from it for a little while and think about it, where I'm struggling with the values versus policies, because our
Mhm.
policies should be our values, like they should reflect our values.
Yeah.
But again, I think I need to just walk away from it for a little while.
Well, do we feel good like for leaving it
Yeah.
for now and we'll move on to number 4
Yeah.
and then we have about 9 minutes and we have just 2 left. 4, I just cleaned up to go with the format we've been using. So collaborate with the town council to align school growth needs with other town department expansion or development projects. Jeff added a 3rd bullet to this and it says communicate and educate the community, communicate to and educate the community on the facility needs, particularly K through 8, and build momentum for the elementary building project. So he did add that. How do we
I
feel
think the
about
only thing
there?
I would maybe change on that is instead of saying continue to collaborate with the town council, I would change it to town council and town staff.
So collaborate with the town council and town staff?
Yeah. I know it says down below, build a collaborative relationship with the town manager, but this is only going to start including more and more town staff.
I almost wonder if we can, to me, I think that first bullet can almost go because I think that Jeff has built that, in my opinion.
Which one?
The continue to build a collaborative relationship with the town manager. I feel like he's built that.
Yeah.
So
I
to
would
me,
agree.
that goal is met.
Yep.
So I think we could scratch that off, actually.
Hmm.
What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I think it's an ongoing relationship though.
or I mean, you could
Maybe
say
just change it to
maintain.
maintain, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say guide and I'm gonna take out the continues to just follow the format. So guide and advise the progress of the building steering committee and then communicate to and educate the community on the facility needs. Particularly, the whole thing, particularly K through 8. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I don't even know if you need that particularly K on.
Take that part out.
I think building momentum is a great goal, because he's been working really hard on that. Or the continue the momentum even would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that based on his notes, that momentum needs to be built, right? It's not quite. In his
Yeah,
eyes, it's not quite
there
there.
yet.
Yeah.
No, he's made tremendous progress, but there's definitely a long way to go.
Really tremendous.
You feel
Yeah.
Good there with that one?
I'm good with it. And I like that he had added that bullet for himself personally to,
Mhm.
and I think we should just honor and leave that sentence as is.
Okay. All right, and then the last one is continue to strengthen student success, achievement, and well-being through ongoing development in all subject areas, district-wide support opportunities, social emotional learning, and district-wide DEI work. So this would be strengthen student, right? With our formatting.
Yeah.
So strengthen student success. One area I would like to see, and I know, again, like we've just did this, and so he's not had a lot of time, but I would like to see us get to that quarterly progress report.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And I'm just gonna take that last bullet, I'm gonna take continue out again, just formatting, so plan and host community dialogue sessions. Any other suggested changes to that goal 5? You feel good?
Can we add something actually to goal 5, maybe to, I'm sure it's kind of done in practice, but just to get like teacher feedback on things that need to happen at the school that maybe admin needs to know. So like we can strengthen everything for our kids, but then how can we help our teachers to get them there too? It's like hosting a dialogue with teaching staff or school staff.
Diane, is that part of like what you guys do already?
Well, I mean, I think certainly whenever there is feedback that's asked of the community, that is mirrored with staff.
So we are. So, do you have a wording for me? And I'll type it out and we can kind of. Does it solicit feedback from teachers and staff?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the community dialogue one and then maybe kind of mimic that with like school staff dialogue instead of community dialogue, kind of mimic the same verbiage.
Well, I'm thinking, I'm gonna think out loud for a moment. Can we, Diane, contractually, can we host staff and teacher dialogue sessions? Because if we're mimicking the community one, right, it's like outside of the work hours.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you can definitely host dialogue sessions. You can't necessarily mandate attendance at those,
Right.
right? We would
Yeah.
never do
Right.
that anyway,
Right,
right?
sure,
Because you
sure.
make the opportunity available. And then, people choose to be part of that opportunity, whether it's an in-person opportunity, a survey opportunity, right? So
Mhm.
I almost wonder if it's part of that bullet, plan and host community dialogue sessions for families, community members, and staff,
I like that.
right? So then that way, again, it has that inclusive feel to it.
Yeah, I like that too. Does that feel good?
Mhm.
So it'd be plan and host community dialogue sessions for family, community members and staff. Sound good? Thanks again, Diane. All right, and I think all of these goals mirror, so I think we've got the 5 and they are close, very close to what we gave him last year, right? With just some minor changes. All right, we have 1 minute. So we will about be ready to start our next meeting. Thank you guys for this. This has been great. And I guess I'll use our 1 minute to, we have a workshop, just as a reminder, at our July meeting and our August meeting.
What's our July workshop?
The July workshop, we will talk about student privacy survey, when we do surveys to our students, how do we protect their data? How do parents opt in and opt out? Monique will lead that workshop. Okay. All right. Agenda item 5.0 is adjournment. All in favor of adjourning the workshop? All right, perfect. Thank you so much. It's okay. All right. We'll just move right on. All right, so good evening and welcome to the Thursday, June 16th, 2022 Scarborough School Board meeting. May I have the attendance, please?
Sure. Mrs. Giftis?
Here.
Mr. Kelleher?
Still here.
Ms. Leon?
Here.
Mrs. Lindstrom?
Here.
Mr. Peony Huff?
Here.
Mrs. Turner?
Here.
Ms. Bertulia?
Here.
And Mr. Shumway.
Here.
Perfect. Everybody, please join me for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, agenda item 4.0 is adjustments to the agenda. Are there any adjustments this evening?
There is one adjustment. Item 8.3.7. We will move that to the July meeting, please.
8.3.7 to the July meeting. Okay, are we all okay with that change? So 8.3.7 will move to July. All right, any other updates? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 5.0, our public comment on agenda items. Is there any public comment this evening? No. All right, seeing no public comment, I will go ahead and close that for this evening. Agenda item 6.0 is a DEI committee update. One of the things that we heard as a board from some of the DEI committee members, and one of the things that Alicia and I heard at our last DEI meeting and were able to address is the amount of time that has occurred between our last meeting, our last DEI committee meeting and the one we had, which was roughly a year. So taking that into consideration, taking into consideration the makeup of the DEI committee, it is very similar to the makeup of the building steering committee in that we have community members, we have teachers, we have students. So we have, it's not just board members, it's a variety of individuals that serve, that volunteer their time and serve on that committee. So taking all of that into consideration, I wanted to bring forth an idea to change the makeup of it slightly so that the chair of the DEI committee would actually be a committee member. So that, in other words, it doesn't necessarily have to be a board member, but rather it's somebody on the committee. So what this ensures is very similar to the building steering committee, and ensures that the work continues regardless of the work we're doing, right? So if we're as we found at the start of the year, our November, the start of our new terms, when we were incredibly busy with that one, unfortunately, just by nature of what we were doing, we did not hold meetings. Well, for a year, quite frankly. So this work would be able to continue on without interference or without impact from our work. And really, just like the building steering committee, it's work that really outlasts any one board member. It will continue on just like that. So my suggestion is to change the makeup so that the chair of the committee will be a committee member, excuse me, not a board member. So we don't have an action item on this today, but I did want to open the floor if anybody has any comments about this or ideas, thoughts about it.
I'm in full support.
I think that that has worked well for the building steering committee, as you have mentioned, and I think it's valuable to that particular committee.
Thanks, Joanne. And one last point on this is that the decision-making won't change, right? So the committee will still have to come forward with any recommendations to the board, and at that point, we could ask questions. We could offer, we could vote, we would vote on it, right? Just the same as any other recommendations. And so those capabilities would still stay there. So ultimately, decisions, final decisions rests with us, but the committee is the one that comes forward with the recommendations. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Perfect. All right, agenda item 7.0 is a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056D for the purpose of discussing the July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025 maintenance employees collective bargaining agreement to return to public session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Okay, we will be right back. All right, welcome back. Agenda item 8.0 is new business. I'm going to bundle 8.1 and 8.2. 8.1 is the second reading of policy IMGA, service animals in schools. And agenda item 8.2 is the second reading of policy EBCF, automated external defibrillators, AEDs. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can you just give a quick recap on what these are?
Yes, so policy IMGA is the policy that speaks to when service animals are allowed in school, and the policy that families would need to follow should their child need to bring a service animal with them to school.
Did something change on it or did you?
It was updated with the new model policy. There was a change. The previous policy actually had a miniature pony
Oh, right.
piece in it. Remember that? And so that has come out. They do need to now get into, yes, yes. They need to be in contact with the school administrator, and they will work a policy out prior to the animal coming. So that was the other change.
Thank you.
Sure. And then the automated external defibrillator, not much of this changed. Actually, I'm not really sure that I don't recall that anything at all changed actually with this one. So it was just updated to the model policy, and this speaks to where they are and how they're used.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, can we call the vote? Oh, would you please call the vote?
All in favor?
All in favor of I'm sorry, approving the second reading? It's unanimous. I'm so used
We're
to
all
you
here.
calling it. Yes, we're all here and we're good. Oh, all right. Agenda item 8.3 is appointments. 8.3.1 is the Blue Point School Special Education Teacher. Diane, please.
Yeah. Ashley Demers has been chosen to fill this position created by a realignment. Ms. Demers earned both her bachelor's and master's degrees from the University of Maine in Farmington. This past year, she was a special education teacher at the Morrison Center in Wells. And Ms. Demers will be placed on step 2 of the master's scale per the collective bargaining agreement.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the Blue Point School Special Education Teacher?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, it's unanimous. Agenda item 8.3.2 is the Wentworth School Special Education Teacher.
Yes, Carrie Fisk has been selected to fill this position created by a resignation. Ms. Fisk received her Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education and special education from the University of Hartford. She earned her Master's of Science in Special Education from Central Connecticut State University and has almost completed her doctorate in educational leadership from North Central University Online. She has been a special education teacher in several Connecticut schools since 2006.
Do I have a motion to approve the Wentworth School Special Education Teacher?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, first discussion. Is there any discussion? Okay, now all in favor. Perfect, thank you. It's unanimous. Agenda item 8.3.3 is the middle school 8th grade ELA teacher, a one-year position.
Nathan Gordon has been nominated to fill this position created by a resignation. Mr. Gordon obtained his Bachelor of Arts degree from Bridgewater State University. He anticipates receiving his master's degree from the University of Southern Maine in December of 2022. Mr. Gordon has been an English teacher at Holbrook Middle High School since August of 2018.
Do I have a motion to approve the middle school 8th grade ELA teacher for a one-year position?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, it's unanimous. Agenda item 8.3.4 is the Wentworth School classroom teacher.
Yes, Allison Stankowitz has been chosen to fill this position created by a retirement. Ms. Stankowitz earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in elementary education from Roger Williams University and her master's degree in curriculum and instructional strategy from the University of New England. She has been a teacher in the K-5 STAR program at Winthrop Grade School, where she has also served as a grade 4 teacher and is currently a grade 3 teacher. Ms. Stank, oh, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the Wentworth School classroom teacher?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right. Agenda item 8.3.5 is a Wentworth School social worker.
Allison Layton has been chosen to fill this newly created position. Ms. Layton received her Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from Muhlenberg College and her Master of Science in Social Administration from Case Western Reserve University. She has been a social worker in many different capacities since 2007 in the Cleveland, Ohio area. Most recently, she was a social work case manager at Mercy Hospital and also a pediatric clinical social worker with Maine Medical Partners Pediatric Specialty Care.
Do I have a motion to approve the Wentworth School social worker?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, thank you. Agenda item 8.3.6 is the Pleasant Hill School Part 0.5 FTE speech language pathologist 1-year position.
Georgette Stone has been selected to fill this newly created position. Ms. Stone obtained her Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Southern Maine and her master's degree in communication sciences and disorder and speech language pathology from Syracuse University. She has been a practicing speech pathologist in both the private and public sector, including 5 years with the Gorham School District and 5 years previously with Scarborough Schools.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the Pleasant Hill School 0.5 FTE speech language pathologist position, 1-year position?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, perfect. Thank you. Agenda item 8.4 is a motion to approve the July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2025 Maintenance Employees Collective Bargaining Agreement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
Well, just, I'll give you an update on negotiations as long as I'm here. You know, we are negotiating the professional staff, which is the teacher's contract, currently the contract for the administrators and the contract for the maintenance employees. Shannon and I had the opportunity to meet with the maintenance department last week. Their contract expires at the end of June. We met with them. They had a few reasonable requests that would make their contract language consistent with the contract language of the custodians. And we were able to, we thought, reasonably accommodate those requests. And our recommendation is for the approval of this contract. It was just really great to work with them, to hear their dedication to the school district. We heard about, you know, that how these particular employees don't necessarily take all of their vacation time. I mean, they are just really diligent, hard workers, and they were a delight to negotiate with. And we couldn't be more thrilled that we're able to get this contract completed before it expires and ensure that they, you know, have what they deserve to move forward.
Thank you, Alicia. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the contract? Fantastic, it's unanimous. All right, agenda item 9.0 is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, fantastic. And before we sign off, we would be remiss if we didn't say happy birthday, John. Happy birthday. We hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night. Thank you.